Today's video is kind of a two-parter, and in the beginning I'm going to be reading parts of this very confusing article, this pop science article, and then I'm going to look at some Reddit comments from some edgy atheists on Reddit. So first let's read this. This doesn't make any sense. So this article was very recently published, and I saw a lot of other people, you know how the news, they like to take other people's stories, and it's almost hard to find who's the original source of this thing because everybody's just copying everybody else. It kind of seemed like that for this. But this is such a confusing article. Melting polar ice is slowing the Earth's rotation with possible consequences for timekeeping. And yeah, published March 27th, 2024. The first sentence says global warming, which isn't that kind of a passé term by this point? They like to use the CC climate change thing because anything they can blame on climate change. Changing, just anything wacky, they can say, oh, that's climate change. Global warming, they have to follow the same agenda of the warming. But hey, that's probably why they bring it up here, because it has to do with melting. So we'll call it global warming when it has something to do with melting. If it has to do with crazy ice storms in some location, they'll call it climate change. Global warming has slightly slowed the Earth's rotation, and it could affect how we measure time. Now, this is such a misleading, strange article. And this is something that I talk about because on my channel I talk a lot about how time is moving more quickly and how NASA has even admitted. NASA tells you that the Earth is spinning faster. So this article is so bizarre to me. Oh wait, now they're coming out and saying that it's slowing down because of global warming. And they're so misleading with this. Because right, the title says that it's slowing the rotation with possible consequences for timekeeping. But if you keep reading, it's still talking about things moving more quickly. It's that they're saying that the melting ice caps are slowing the quickening. Oh man, it's confusing. God is not the author of confusion, but these bozos in high places can come up with whatever BS they want, and the plebs mostly have endless excuses for their overlords. For any of their inconsistencies, people are willing to suspend their disbelief constantly for those in control. And here we go. A study published Wednesday found that the melting of polar ice has caused Earth to spin less quickly than it would otherwise. Oh man, okay. Tying themselves up in knots. Here we see that recently they've been talking about Earth spinning faster. Okay, Earth doesn't spin. The day-night cycle has to do with the circuit of the sun that it takes overhead and how fast that takes. The sun has been zooming by these days. I think it's also why the sun is brighter. It makes sense to me that if the sun started moving more quickly, it would also become brighter. It's just like more energy is being put into the system. Earth is spinning faster. Okay, so which is it? Is it spinning faster? Is it spinning slower? Oh, okay. This is a confusing article about how the polar ice caps are melting, which is slowing the spin, but it's just offsetting the already fastness that's happening. Earth is spinning faster than it used to. Weird things about leap seconds. Paraphrasing. Let me paraphrase stuff. If outer space spaceball land existed, the only thing that would make sense is that things would slow down over time. And man, Earth, this is like the top that won't stop spinning. How do you have something that's supposed to be spinning for billions and billions of years or whatever? Who knows what fake numbers they make up these days, but you can't really have something that spins forever at a fast speed without slowing down with other forces going on. And of course, that's, I guess, well, they'll say that it's like frictionless because we're allegedly in a vacuum. So Earth speeding up because it's hot liquid. This doesn't make any sense. Earth speeding up because its hot liquid core, a large ball of molten fluid, acts in unpredictable ways with eddies and flows that vary. So their explanation for why Earth can just like randomly start speeding up is because wacky stuff is going on the inside. Okay, can anyone corroborate that? Is there a test that we can? Where's the experiment that we can corroborate their claims that Earth is spinning faster because the liquid goo on the inside is doing wacky stuff? It's a wild card, as we'll see later. They say it's a wild card, which basically means that Since it's a place nobody can go to and it only exists in cartoons, they can use that to say whatever they want. Earth is spinning faster. Oh, the liquid center's doing crazy stuff. Earth is spinning slower. Oh, the liquid crazy center's doing weird stuff. Agnew said the core had been triggering a speed up for about 50 years, but rapid melting of ice at the poles masked that effect. Okay. Talk about a spinning ice skater. Man, this is something I think about a lot. You know how the star Betelgeuse, it was like going really dim over like a couple years? Notice how with Outer Space Land and with Evolution Land, they tell you that these timescales are like way beyond the comprehension of the human mind. They give you timescales that humans can't even relate to. But notice that in reality, things happen on a human timescale and on shorter than that. The Betelgeuse star got really dim and we were noticing it over years, and now it's coming back to brightness. If all of these timescales are supposed to be billions and billions of years, why is it all happening so quickly, like within years? For 50 years the speed up has been happening. Why isn't this one 50 quadrillion years or whatever? Like the timescales are very often like 1 year things, but then they tell us all these stories about, well, it takes 10 trillion years for this to happen. Same thing with evolution. You can grow your own little garden in your backyard and see crossbreeding happen and adaptations happening in real time. Like years, couple years, you can see that. Hybrids and adaptations. It doesn't take millions of years for things to adapt. Think of when people go crazy and they decide to breed a bajillion different types of tulips. It doesn't take them forever to evolve these things. The timescales of reality are often way shorter. I mean, they are always shorter than the fake timescales that they give you. The Earth hasn't been around for a billion years, or even a million years, I don't think. Okay, then add in the weird effect of subtracting, not adding a leap second. Blah, blah, blah. I guess this, in my opinion, this article almost seems like they're paving the way for, in the end, computer systems are going to go awry because timekeeping is going to become kind of unreliable. That's what I was getting from this. Negative leap second. The evidence is compelling. What evidence? This is just a bunch of BS. McCarthy said the trend toward needing a negative leap second is clear, but he thinks it's more to do with the Earth becoming more round from geologic shifts. I thought it's supposed to be a pear now, because that DeGrasse person said so. But Levine doesn't think a negative leap second will really be needed. The slowing trend from the tides has been around for centuries, but the shorter... whatever, this is not a process where the past is a good prediction of the future. Anyone who makes a long-term prediction on the future is on very, very shaky ground. And yet these people, they're constantly trying to pretend like they can tell you exactly what's going to happen 500 years from now, a million years from now. Oh, we're going to flood the Earth. That's always been scare tactics. When you go to university, they're going to tell you how you're destroying everything. It's all your fault. How when I was in college, so this was mid 2000s to the early 2010s, we were being told how we're going to run out of fuel like immediately, and that it would already peak oil was supposed to happen. I remember being told that the beaches, the water level is going to be huge. Still the same today. Nothing has changed. The water level's the same. Okay, but they do spray the crap out of the sky now, and there are crazy fires. Things have changed, but not in the way that they say they have. There's no such thing as peak oil, and the whole fossil fuel thing is a hoax. And also the water levels, it doesn't work like that. Something very serious has to happen for the whole world's water levels to change. And because I think this system is self-regulating, and in a way where that just melting some ice isn't going to flood this place. I'm just going to read this because it's so convoluted. His study, which was published in the journal Nature, suggests that climate change is playing a significant enough role in the Earth's rotation to counteract an opposing trend. Because of a combination of factors, the Earth has begun to spin faster in recent decades, a temporary trend that has prompted scientists for the first time to consider subtracting a negative leap second. And see, this sounds, they have this backwards too. If you subtract something negative, you're actually adding. From clocks worldwide as soon as 2026, but the melting of polar ice has delayed that possibility by about 3 years. Again, working on very small timescales. You would assume that all this stuff is very long timescales. If timekeeping organizations do eventually decide to add a negative, hey, they said it correctly here. It shouldn't be subtracting a negative second. It should be adding a negative second. The adjustment could disrupt computer networks. Okay. Here's a view. A view. What's a view supposed to be? No stars in the background, of course, and just a bunch of CGI BS. The landmass sizes are constantly changing on these fake ball Earth things. Like that looks pretty small. The whatever's showing there. Is that North America? BS. You don't live on a ball. The reason leap second adjustments have historically been needed is that even without climate change, Earth's daily rotation has trended slower over millions of years, even though it may seem constant. Earth doesn't rotate. The heavens above rotate around us, and that's the calendar that God gave us. And if the NASA stuff were true, it would only make sense for things to tend towards slowness. But then that begs the question of, well, then how can these things be around for millions of years and they're still whizzing around and all that? The friction of ocean tides, moon's gravity. The moon, I don't think has anything to do with the tides, really. And if it does, it's through some secondary. It's not gravity. The moon doesn't pull things. It has cool light, though. Meanwhile, since the last ice age, the Earth's crust has been uplifting in some regions. I guess this is something I haven't talked about yet. They love to tell you about Earth's molten core, but they haven't ever been able to drill down into it. And stuff actually gets really weird. If you research the deepest boreholes, how the rock, it starts to turn into like plastic at a certain point. Rock becomes like plastic. And that's what stops them from being able to drill through it. That it becomes very plastic and starts gumming everything up and they can't drill down anymore. Anyways, they'll tell you the movement of fluid within Earth's liquid inner core, a wild card that can either speed or slow how fast the Earth rotates. Well, what do you know? That's amazing that they have these wild cards that they can tell you anything of things that nobody can visit and nobody can verify. Even with our most intense tech, nobody can get down to drill down into there. But they'll tell you that this is the thing that's causing it to rotate faster or rotate slower. You know, whichever one, we'll say that's the blame. Scientists expect sea levels to rise. What a bunch of BS. 40 feet of sea level rise. Oh my goodness. Is Earth spinning faster or slower? Well, I don't know. They can't make up their minds. It's clearly the days are shorter than they used to be, and they're just trying to confuse people and trying to... Sometimes I feel like they're spell casting with stuff like this by coming out with an article. Hey, melting polar ice caps makes things slow down. I think that they actually think they have control over the Earth system by casting spells like that. Like, if we can get enough people to think Earth is spinning slower, that it will spin slower. I mean, of course, Earth doesn't even spin, but I think that they believe that if they can get enough people to believe in something, that it actually changes the way Earth is. But I also think that this is, who knows, somebody just posted this is how academia works. You just make up your own bullshit theories, and sometimes it gets posted to an article. Okay, on to the second half of this video. I just thought that first half was a strange article. Why make an article saying that Earth is spinning slower, but the conclusion is actually that it's spinning faster still? I can't wrap my mind around that one. So here is a post to atheism, which of course on Reddit, this is the type of thing that if you don't even have an account and you're just visiting Reddit, what are the things that Reddit likes to shove in your faces? Well, fake fursuits and atheism and a bunch of pedos on teenagers talking about sexual stuff. That's the kind of stuff that Reddit likes to put on the front page. Total grooming operation. And wasn't that Ghislaine Maxwell person heavily involved with Reddit? These are the people that run this place. These are the academics. They work for the same pedos that are all over Hollywood. And they They're in control of all of these earthly institutions. Okay, am I the only one who literally cannot wrap my brain around why religion and the Bible and Jesus and God are even still a thing? Is it just human nature to need to believe in something almighty and powerful? It's not for me. And I just cannot understand why people actually believe the Bible, their own religion, God, Jesus being the Son of God, heaven and hell. It disturbs me so much. Heaven isn't real. I mean, where's your evidence? So, because it disturbs him, he's just going to declare it's not real. Okay. Heaven isn't real, and even if it was, I don't think it sounds all that great. Feeling nothing but joy and happiness for eternity. So this person doesn't think that feeling happiness and joy for all eternity sounds good, even. So, yeah. I know that when I die, this person they already know everything. I know when I die that will be it, period. It will be as if I lose consciousness by whatever means and never wake up. I'm not going to see my long dead family, I'll just be dead. I can't take anyone who believes in the Bible and Jesus and all that crap seriously. FFS, it's 2024. How is being a Bible or religious nut not a mental disorder of some sort? This guy sounds like they're on an unhinged mental rant. How do millions and millions of people still congregate weekly over this and it's normal and acceptable? It baffles me. Well, I mean, I'm hoping this person's young and can humble themselves at a certain point and can learn to see the mystery in life. But of course, in my opinion, these people are just totally brainwashed. They didn't come up with these ideas on their own. This is exactly the end game of the school Bafo programming, the Masonic, Freemasonic, fake universe that they shove down people's throats. It's in order to get people to think exactly the way that this person's thinking, that they have everything figured out, that everything is science, and that you don't need to do anything. There's no life mysteries because you can always Google something and be handed the answer. These types of people, they are not running their own experiments. They're not a scientist. They literally just accept whatever pop science media shove down their throat. We'll get to that in a minute when I talk about Helix. How these people are not intellectuals. And I'm not saying that to mean that I'm not trying to put them down as like they're dumb or anything, but none of these opinions are going to be like, wow, that's a really interesting idea. I've never heard that before. It's not cerebral in a way where they're being creative with their thought process or thinking for themselves. You very rarely see that. These are just the same tried old, this is exactly what school wanted you to think, these things. Full disclosure, I'm a devout skeptic and atheist. Skeptical of who, though? Of what? Are you skeptical of everything? Because most people, at least in a Reddit setting, who say that they're a skeptic, well, are you skeptical of the scientists? Who are you skeptical of? I think about this a lot too, and I will take a sympathetic stab at explaining the reasons many people accept these bedtime stories. Their bias is so clearly showing, and their lack of humility that anyone who believes in God must just be simply believing in bedtime stories. And that's the type of thing that real academics should learn about, things like bias, and not so clearly show your bias in your very first starting sentence. Familiarity with an acceptance of authority. Well, what about the earthly authorities? These people love science authorities. NASA is an authority. Why do you have faith in NASA? Okay. We are born to a world where we are taught to submit and follow authority. Exactly. Yep. And you're just choosing a different authority. You're choosing the scientific authority. It begins with parents, teachers, bosses. I mean, this guy is right on. I don't disagree. Your minister or just another authority. And I agree on that too. I am not a strong supporter of organized religion. I think that organized religion really screws up a lot of people. And I think that one of the biggest ways that satanic people operate is by being a wolf in sheep's clothing in a religious setting. And it really turns some otherwise good people off of religion. And so I just pray that people that were turned off to religion because of an evil person can open up their heart to it again. And this person's correct. You don't need to submit yourself to an earthly pastor or anything like that. I mean, I even feel the same way about Paul. This is part of the reason why I don't like Paul, because I feel like Pauline stuff Like, Paul is trying to get in between me and Jesus. I don't think you need to go to church to be saved. I think that everybody needs to seek out a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and to read the Bible for themselves and come up with your own read it without your preconceived notions about it, because the whole world is set up to make you doubt the Bible and to think that it's a bunch of fairy tales. So you got to turn that off and open it with an open heart. And I think it becomes really obvious. Like, Genesis 1, it's not a fairy tale. Nothing about Genesis 1 reads as a fairy tale. The firmament is not an allegory for anything. John chapter 1 is some of the deepest philosophical stuff. If reading John chapter 1 doesn't just make your jaw drop, like, how does somebody even write this? The Bible is the truth. And if you go at it with an open heart, an open mind, you will see that. I used to be very skeptical of biblical stuff. I grew up being able to notice that a lot of Christians were phonies. And I bought into the same science stuff and distrusting religion. But I always held out the possibility that God was real. And for whatever reason, part of me always knew that if God was real, that the Bible was real and that Jesus was real. And part of it does eventually come down to faith, and I'm okay with that. Faith should be a component of religion and God, your relationship with God. I do think that it should be faith-based at a certain point. I don't think God needs to come down and whisper in each one of our ears that he's real. I think that it's abundantly clear that God is real just by opening your eyes. And people go backward. People are so megalomaniac about that situation. They think of themselves as being like so important that God needs to bend down to them and do something for them. It's very strange. I don't understand that perspective. Their ultimate truth. Any contradictions you may uncover when interrogating authority is met with, "We know what's best. We are experts and you're not." Or, "You can't fully understand the nature of..." I mean, his first ones are perfectly applicable to any science type thing. How often do you get told that you can't have an opinion on something because you're not an expert? Well, who gets to decide what the experts are? This world is a big Wizard of Oz hoax, and it's just a dumpy bozo handing out papers to people, and those are supposed to be the experts. Because everyone around me believes in this stuff, it must be true. I don't know. I grew up in a very not religious household. My mom cried, not tears of joy, when she found out that I followed Jesus, and I grew up totally agnostic. The philosophy of love thy neighbor works for me, so I'm willing to put up with the biblical stories, which I consider parables. I mean, no, like, that's not necessarily true. Not putting up with it. A lot of people see the wisdom in Jesus's teachings, and they still believe the stories in the Bible and not as parables, not putting up with anything. So I guess this person is making an appeal to, like, some people see the appeal of Jesus, and because of that, they're willing to turn a blind eye to obvious fake things in the other part of the Bible, which, I mean, there might be people like this, but that's okay. Jesus is enough. Jesus is sufficient. You can make it to heaven believing in Jesus, but then thinking that some of the Old Testament stuff is parables. I think that you don't have to believe that the earth is flat in order to be saved. So life on earth sucks. Thinking about death and meaning is too difficult. I mean, I would say that a lot of the atheist, agnostic type people would fall under this category, because they don't even believe in that stuff. That their answer to, well, what happens after you die, is, well, just nothing. That seems like such a cop-out answer. You really think all of this is for nothing? You really think all of this and the whole mystery of even existing at all, you think that the answer to that is, well, it was all for no big point anyways, and nothing matters? That is literally what a lot of these people believe. Christianity was very popular with slaves. Christianity told slaves that it's okay to suffer. As long as you follow Christ, you're going to heaven because the meek inherit the earth. I mean, this is not wrong. It really isn't. Jesus told us that we're to be servants. So don't be expected in this life to live a cushy life. And it also says that those types of people, that's their reward. Their cushy life that they lived. That's their reward. Life sometimes scares me. I don't always know what I should do or how to be. When I feel this way, I'm glad to know God is guiding me. I don't see anything wrong with that. Just a lot of wild projecting going on. A lot of armchair psychology. These people have it all figured out. Oh, if you believe in God, you must be under one of these 5, 6 things that I wrote down. Otherwise, there's no other possibilities. God is, oh man, this is getting very Freudian here. God is substitute for the relationship you had with your father. Okay. God is a fetish object. I don't know. I'm done reading this guy's thing. These are some of the reasons people accept the Bible stories. You know, some people also find this stuff through conspiracy. That's my example. And through realizing that this world is full of deception and that the people on the world stage are satanic deceivers. So why don't you add that to your number 7? Bourbon and ginger. You're not alone. It's absolutely crazy that here in the 21st effing century, people still believe in magic, fairy tales, ancient mythology, demons, angels, and the supernatural. I agree, but most of the time it doesn't bother me. It does bother me tremendously if a doctor I'm seeing is openly religious. How can I trust someone who believes in fairy tales to take a scientific approach to curing diseases? It's incompatible to me. Okay. I mean, I don't disagree that there's an obvious incompatibility between science and religion because it's constructed that way. That is the entire reason that they came up with the ball earth stuff, because it's an impossibility when you look at the Bible. That's not how things work. You can't have a bunch of different worlds out there. That's incompatible with the Bible. It's incompatible with the story of Jesus, that there would be infinite worlds out there with various alien creatures on them. It doesn't work. So, I don't know. This one's interesting to me. Indoctrination is one hell of a pharmaceutical. I think it's hilarious how many of these Reddit people are popping all sorts of antidepressants. And indoctrination, yeah, exactly. How even in America, a land that pretends to be Christian, the whole, like, what is the foundation of the American education system is that it's secular. And even it was starting to be weird in my generation, started where, yeah, we're going to pretend it's secular, but we can also talk about religions that aren't Christianity, and that's okay, because that's diverse when you're talking about things that aren't Christianity. So, I mean, and I took all sorts of Greek mythology classes. Why are we allowed to take Greek mythology classes, but you can't read a chapter from the Bible in a philosophy class? And the whole indoctrination thing, this is hilarious. I thought so much dumb shit was real because I was told it. You know, like how today I still hear people talk about the sour spot on your tongue, the sweet spot on your tongue, even though the entire human experience, you can tell that tastes happen all over your tongue. Nobody has ever eaten an apple and been like, oh wow, I really feel the sweetness over here on this side of my tongue. And yet what? It gets taught all over the place. I remember being taught that viruses were these weird crystalline entities that injected stuff into you. I remember being taught that all the stars we see in the sky are dead. Okay, they teach so much bullshit in school. And the indoctrination, people also talk, I don't know if I saw a comment already that said it. They say a big reason people are religious is because they're indoctrinated into it from a young age. Kind of like dinosaurs and outer space are pushed on children. There's a reason that so much children's stuff is outer space themed. It's not because children get to fly in a rocket to outer space. It's because they're indoctrinating people into it from a very young age. Controlling a population using fear. I mean, a lot of this stuff, it's like, yeah, this is true, but this is why science does it the same way. Why do you think NASA puts out an article every year about, oh, there's a huge asteroid out there with a 0.33% chance of hitting Earth and destroying life? Science is huge on using fear. The whole, there's no such thing as atomic bombs. That is fear propaganda, straight out of Hollywood. But yes, people do use religion. I mean, down here, as long as there are ambitious power freaks looking for tools of control, Absolutely. People use religion to control people. Absolute organized religion. I'm very skeptical of a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing and earthly authorities. It's no different than Jesus's day. Jesus was constantly calling out the Pharisees, and those were the religious big shots of the time. So nothing is different today. I often think of blessed are the poor in spirit. And this is something that even I've seen even pastors interpret this in bizarre ways that don't make sense. It's not talking about like poor people. It's talking about the difference between being poor in spirit or rich in spirit. God didn't call us to try to put on this like outwardly appearance of being holier than thou. So anybody that's doing that, very skeptical. Salt of the earth. We are the salt of the earth, not the ones pretending to be the most highest and mighty. This was an interesting angle. Religion absolves everyone of personal responsibility. I mean, is it not the opposite? If you believe in the Bible and you believe that God is real and that we're going to be judged in the end, I mean, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like when you fully believe in God and you believe in Jesus, that now the responsibility is on you to act on that information. Now you know, and so now you know that your sins are really are real. You really are a sinner, and you really do fall short, and we all have disobeyed God, and we all have sinned against God, and we need a way to repay that. And so anyways, I don't think that being religious absolves you of personal responsibility. It's like the opposite, in my opinion. Majority rules. You can't label the majority to be mentally ill. Yeah, to go back, this person was making a post saying that anybody who's religious is mentally ill. Who has anybody stopped here and asked, how does anything exist at all? This type of atheist train of thought, it doesn't go very far, and it's like a smugness. And I already have everything figured out. There's no magic. There's nothing to be discovered in this world. It's very shallow-minded. And where does their information come from? Pop science is these people's religion, and that's their authority figure. Like, it's not like these people don't have any authority figure because they reject religion. What? It's really baffling. I mean, this is an interesting comment. What I find truly insidious is the vast number of people who rejoice at the idea of praising a bloodthirsty maniac, so their bias is showing, for all eternity while some of their friends' family are suffering. People, if God truly loved us, then no one would go to hell. People really think this. People really think that God is a big meanie because not everyone goes to heaven. I don't know how simplistic of a worldview you have to have where you think that that's righteous judgment, that literally everybody goes to heaven no matter what. Who thinks that makes any sense? But I guess this is the generation of everybody gets a participation trophy. But evil exists. How do we deal with evil in this scenario? Let's say everybody goes to heaven. So evil, people that were just pure evil in their life, they get to go to heaven? Apparently it's batshit crazy. The Roman Catholic Church, I am not a fan of. I think that this is just an example of people being turned off to religion. And I really do feel sorry for people that get turned off from religion by wolves in sheep's clothing. But it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Just because, yeah, there's tons of evil, horrible people out there that use religion as a shield. That is a truth. It's in the Bible. The Bible says, I mean, so many things. I already talked about the Pharisees. There's whole groups of people that pretend to be the holiest, and Jesus was constantly calling them out. Jesus went into the temple with a whip, and Jesus told us about wolves in sheep's clothing. So it shouldn't turn you off from religion. It should just say, you know what? The Bible was right. That there's all sorts of wolves in sheep's clothing, and that people that pretend to be the holiest are often the most disgusting. this person, the only reason that this person is an atheist is due to the harm that religion causes. I mean, this is like letting Satan win. It's, what is it, chopping off your foot to just because you have a little toe infection or something. I don't know. That's a terrible analogy, but you're letting Satan win. This is exactly the goal of why would a satanic person put on a sheep's clothing and pretend to be religious? It would be exactly to do this, to turn people away from God. You're letting them win when you do this. When you say, I had a bad religious experience, therefore religion is wrong. You're actually letting the Satanist toy with you. You're letting the satanic person tell you what to do because they turned you off from it. You're really giving them power. You're giving the satanic person power when you let a satanic fake religious person turn you off completely from religion. Religious people are either, oh man, they have it figured out. There's only 4 types of religious people. Absolutely gullible, indoctrinated from birth. Well, okay, I was never indoctrinated from birth. My family totally agnostic. I still came to Jesus. Lying to themselves, or mentally disturbed. I can imagine that people would say that I'm letter D there. I've already said a lot. I just thought this was an interesting idea. Why they're still a thing is because indoctrination begins early in life. Again, exactly like my dinosaurs, my outer space, all of that stuff is heavily pushed on children for this exact reason. But to even bring it on religion, why would you not want to tell your children how to get to heaven if you knew how to get to heaven? Would you really want to keep that secret from your very family or your friends? This is the reason why Christians, more than anyone, go out there and try to convert people. So to say it like that, it makes it seem like it's a weird power thing, but it's not about that. If you had news that could save somebody's soul, would you not want to go tell people that? And especially your children. So this is so wrong because you need to be able to put yourself in, well, let's suppose Christianity is true. And this is the level of thought process that a lot of people lack. They lack the ability to consider an idea without having to adopt it. And so they just have a blockade down. They're like, I can't even consider that Christianity would be true. And their heart is blocked to it completely. That's a lot of people. But a lot of people, they don't even have the ability to say, well, let's think that Christianity is true. If I really did believe in Christianity, so I believed that I had a way to get to heaven, that I knew the answer to life, that I knew that God was real and that we can get to heaven through Jesus Christ, would you not want to tell people about it? Of course you would. So anyways, but I guess this is where people will say, well, every religion thinks that they're right. Okay, but what are the religions out there that are really out there telling people, that are really out there, really putting themselves out there, willing to die to tell people the gospel? And I mean, when I just said willing to die, my mind kind of goes to the Alu Akbar stuff. But are they really willing to die to like share the good news with people, or are those kind of bloodthirsty maniacs that these people were talking about earlier? There's a big difference. The whole religion of peace thing is hilarious. Anyways, I feel bad for these people that feel like they got turned off from religion, but God is always holding his hand out there, and it's a personal relationship. You don't need to go through, if you feel like you had bad church experiences, well, guess what? Jesus never said that you have to go to church to be saved. He said to repent. Anyways. This was hilarious. Let them battle each other. This guy starts talking about veganism, which I don't have a problem with, but they're gonna say everybody's a bad person who's not a vegan. Okay, these people are totally Helix. Helic, the basest type of man in the Gnostic triadic grouping. It is a person focused on neither the intellectual, psychic, nor the spiritual reality. And yeah, I just want to say again that how often are these people actually like intellectual? They have a very wrong version of intellectuals. Intellectuals should be able to consider all sorts of different things. They should be very good at that thought experiment that I said earlier of, well, let's suppose I was a Christian and I did believe it. How would I act? They have trouble with that type of abstraction, and they think that they're intellectual because they know trivia. That's not, there's no mental, working going on in memorizing trivia. That's just a memory thing. There's no hard thought going into that. And what is it? It's 100% appeal to authority. Trivia is total appeal to authority. And notice that kind of stuff is totally popular with the nerdy types. They love trivia games and, going out to trivia night. And that gives them their big brain moment, remembering a piece of trivia. And that's not really an intellectual pursuit. Think of just like, I often think of the way that people used to be and how people think that they were stupid because of technological differences, which a lot of that is lies too. A lot of this old technology existed in times past too. It's just been brought back. But I think about this when I read old letters and the beautiful penmanship that people had, and it was like poetry. Like everybody used to know how to write poetry. And that type of intellectual, just today people think that they have the biggest brains because they can look up any old little factoid on the internet. But just think of how how people used to write letters and how intelligent they sound compared to today. And yeah, the poetry, it seems like everybody used to be an artist basically, and everybody used to know how to play instruments in times past. And today, just a lot of sitting in an armchair and listening to a TV and being told things. How many of these people that consider themselves intellectuals are performing their own experiments? I can tell you back when I was one of those types of people, I wasn't performing my own experiments very often. It's very rare. Anyways, that's it for this video. Enough rambling. I hope you enjoyed. God bless everyone.